Welcome, everyone, to the Everything Show, episode 278. I am your host, Matrix Lord 212, and I'm with Connor Farley. What's up, Connor?
Hello.
What's up, Mike D?
Hello.
Okay, so the other day we announced there is going to be a Bond cast that we're going to do here. It's going to be a brand new show. It's going to be with Connor and Mike D. And Connor, why don't you just say a little bit about your Bond history? This is like kind of like a pre-Bond cast, getting ready for the big day. So, what was your first experience
My
seeing
first
James Bond?
my first experience was watching Casino Royale on TV. I think it was 2007,
Okay.
2008. And when I watched Casino Royale, I was so impressed by the amazingness of that film that I went back and watched all the other films in the Bond series. I had previously heard of James Bond before Casino Royale because they had the video games like Everything or Nothing,
Right.
and then the original GoldenEye video game. So I was aware of who James Bond was, and also with the books and everything like that. And then so I watched Casino Royale. That was my first film, and then I
Okay.
went back, and I think my first other film from the other Bonds was probably I think it was From Russia with Love, because that's actually my favorite, still my favorite. So
Right.
yeah, and yeah, so ever since I've just literally just watched every film. I've only ever seen
I'm
Bond
gonna.
in cinemas once, and
Now I'm gonna. Yeah.
that was with Quantum of Solace. I never actually saw Skyfall in cinemas, which I'm gutted about because
Right.
I bet that was absolutely fantastic. I will see Spectre
It
in cinemas.
was.
Though.
Now, before I go to you, Mike D, I'm just gonna share my experience. My father was a huge Bond fan. Okay, so of course, my dad introduced me just as I introduced my kids to stuff. My dad took me to see For Your Eyes Only in 1981. Okay, Roger Moore. So once I saw that, I'm like, oh my god, because it was like nothing like it, action packed back then. So I was very excited as a kid, and we wound up seeing on TV Moonraker backwards, and then I started every time a Bond movie came out. I didn't even know. My dad just was like, "We're going," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool," And I didn't understand either when it was different Bonds, like why that was. But then I was like, "Oh, my dad would explain to me they got a new actor to play the part and stuff," and he would always take me to whatever Bond movie was out. And I could go down the list that I was just looking at off air. Um, I saw in the theaters For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy, A View to a Kill, Living Daylights, License to Kill. When it got to, I think
Golden.
it was when it got to Pierce Bronson, I think I didn't see all of them in the theaters. I believe I saw GoldenEye, but I didn't see Tomorrow Never Dies and The World's Not Enough. I saw them on cable or whatever, or like DVD and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, my dad made sure like I got into that, and we would go backwards and watch like Sean Connery, and he would introduce me to all that stuff, and I did get to see a good portion of Bond movies in the theater, and it was a great experience. I haven't seen some of this stuff in so long, so I gotta like really brush up so I know my stuff. But Mike D, what was your first experience?
Well, my very first experience was my. I remember my grandmother took me to go see Moonraker,
Oh
and that
wow,
was within a year or two of Star Wars coming out. So, like, it with space, and they were kind of capitalizing at the time in the Bond franchise with the whole Star Wars thing. With
mm,
they took the original Ian Fleming novel, and they kind of reworked it to where it was more like a space sort of fantasy. Bond adventure, rather than in the book. It was more grounded on Earth with most of the storyline. But I remember that, and it intrigued me. You know, the character Jaws. You know, this larger than life character, and all the space fighting they had going on and stuff. So that was my only experience of what Bond was. So I went back, I think, and started watching some of the other movies that came out on VHS at the time, like in the early '80s. Because there's a while where I saw Moonraker, and I didn't see For Your Eyes Like Octopussy was when I really got caught up on Bond, because I saw Octopussy in the theater, and that's from then on I saw every movie in the theater, but I was still like a kid. And I remember watching, like, my stepfather was like a big Bond fan. He was telling me that there was another actor besides Roger Moore that had played it, but there were two actually, but he said Sean Connery. And I went back and watched Dr. No through to like Diamonds Are Forever at the time, and then started with Moore, but I thought it was kind of weird because I'm like, oh, you know, Sean Connery's playing this guy, and there's no space stuff going on. But then I learned to appreciate it as like a spy and espionage series at that point. That's how I got started with it.
Now, when it comes to my kids, it was, you know, Casino Royale with Daniel Craig. When they saw that, it was like little Joe went nuts. You know, he's not little. I mean, he's bigger than me, but and Anthony, they loved it, and they were like instantly like hooked. I mean, they didn't go backwards yet and watch the other stuff, but like you know, they're into it, and we're gonna go see Spectre when it comes out in the theater, as well as the second part to it, whatever that's gonna be called. But yeah, I mean, it's good that like Asian, you know, gets into it, you know. Just like, you know, you know, my dad, and like I got into Doctor Who, I got my father into Doctor Who, you know, and then I got my kids into Doctor Who, so it was pretty cool, you know.
Well, that's one of the things with like such a long running franchise like Star Trek or Doctor Who or Bond.
Oh yeah, we all shared that. When my dad was alive, we all watched like Doctor Who at the same time, even when like little Joe was like on my lap, like you know, it's like we all got to experience like watching them, you know, and it was just amazing, like that, like we're all into the same stuff, you know. So,
and especially like with that film series, I've always thought before Craig that Connery was like the Bond and my favorite one, and I like all of them. Roger Moore was more like a nostalgic sort of favorite, his series. And they're the ones that I go back to kind of rewatch for fun because they're just fun to watch. There's so much going on, and then the humor in them and stuff. But I clearly remember I rented On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the one lone film that George Lazenby did. And what's cool about the series is I didn't like it when I first saw it because it just didn't seem like a Bond film without Connery or Moore. But then I went back and rewatched it, and it's like easily in my top 3, if not my favorite, of the whole series. So, like, it's a fun series to go back and revisit, and you find that your opinion changes, like especially with like the Dalton films with a lot of people.
Yeah, there's been a lot of spoofs off James Bond. There was even Roger Moore had played a spoof of James Bond in Cannonball Run, I believe. Well, I don't know if it was the first one or the second one, where he played like a type of James Bond character, only got like things mixed up. He actually played himself, Roger Moore, but like almost as if that's what his real life was, you know.
Right.
And when it came to Austin Powers, you know, from SNL, I love Saturday Night Live, and I always watched Mike Myers on Saturday Night Live. So when he did Austin Powers, like when I first saw the trailer of Austin Powers, I came trying to move the car back and forth in that little space. Like that one trailer, like killed it for me. I was like, oh, I gotta see this. And even though I was a Bond fan, I freaking love the Austin Powers franchise. Even the kids, you know, everybody was into it. But now, Connor, you can't stand Austin Powers, right? Like you have like pure hatred for it, or?
I don't have pure hatred for it.
Okay.
I would watch it, but I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it because
do you think it hurt James Bond?
I think it did.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like it was just taking massive shits on it, and yeah, maybe it's just not my type of humor, but you know, I just didn't enjoy how they took three of the best Bond films and they
Right.
based it around them, and they
Right.
just basically threw shits at the Dark Lord.
I know. I mean, but
Well,
here's the thing now. We got Spectre coming out, and um,
Well, I
word
wanted
is,
to add,
yeah.
I, I, I
Let me
wanted
just, yeah.
I wanted to add while we were talking about Austin Powers before we moved on that Mike Myers is a huge fan of the Bond series since he was a kid.
Yes.
So he wasn't doing it out of any sort of vitriol. He was doing it just kind of like as a
Honor.
satirical sort of And I think there's an argument to be made that it actually progressed the Bond series to a more modern sort of film that we have now with Daniel Craig's interpretation, where it kind of got out of that sort of camp that it kind of started
Right.
becoming a little bit with
I
Moore's
think it
tenure.
definitely helped it too. I think that Austin Powers helped it too. In fact, just recently, with the whole North Korea thing, Mike Myers returned to Saturday Night Live as Dr. Evil, and everybody went ballistic, loving that Dr. Evil came back. And like a test, you know, like not only did they do a skit, but they wanted to see is there still interest in Austin Powers and Dr. Evil to do more movies, and that passed with friggin' flying colors. And he's been talking about doing like bringing more Austin Powers movies back. It looks like he's going to be doing another one soon. Now, if everything goes the way it is, it may come out around when the new Bond movie around there, Spectre. So I don't think it would hurt it anymore because after Skyfall, it was ridiculous how much money that movie made. I think they could basically benefit off each other. But what do you think? Are you against it, Connor?
If it's around the time of Spectre, yes, because just because I don't want Spectre, which actually sounds like a brilliant movie. I know that me
Yeah.
and Matt D have read the
Well,
film.
two-parter. I mean,
Well, yeah, it definitely sounds like one of the best, and it's continuing themes from Skyfall.
Right.
I don't want it being overshadowed by this spoof, because I know it will, because people will hype up Austin Powers and then forget that
Well, when is the date for Spectre?
6th of November.
6th of November of
Yeah.
2015.
15.
No. Well, here's the thing. Austin Powers, the next one, would probably come out, but the following year in between the two parts. So it will come out before the next installment of James Bond. Because I think it would probably come out in the spring of 2016.
Yeah. I don't know when
So,
Bond 25 is coming out. I think it's 2017 or
right.
2018. It's every 2 or 3 years. It changes. It varies.
Yeah,
Right.
during Moore and Dalton's run, they had pretty much where it was like every other year they would throw a new Bond film out, and I'm more curious about what they're going to do if Craig doesn't come back after Spectre. If you're going to have like a two-parter where
No, he
Spectre's
is.
going to
He
lead
is.
into the
He is.
following film.
He's signed.
He's in Bond 25 with Waltz.
He's signed for the one after Spectre.
Oh, okay, good.
And
Yeah,
so is
no.
Christoph, which is brilliant.
Yeah. He's signed. After that, maybe Idris Elba or somebody as James Bond. Not sure, but
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? I'm very happy that Daniel Craig is staying on another extra movie because, like, I'm telling you, I watched like Casino Royale like over and over and over again. Um, when it came out, and then when it was on the cable, every time it was on cable, I was constantly watching that. I love that movie. That's like one of my top. So That's everything old is new again. They're even talking about bringing the Pink Panther back and revitalizing that rather than doing sequels of Steve Martin stuff. So we'll see
It's
what
kind of
happens.
tough. That's kind of tough to do that because Peter Sellers to me is like just so intrinsic to that role
Peter
of
Sellers was a
Spectre.
genius, and they never came close. They've tried so many times to like still do it without him. I mean, they had that guy that was the New York cop. Then they had Roberto Benigni or whatever his name was. Then they had um, Steve Martin. Steve Martin. Oh God, that was awful. It's like the worst ever. But they're gonna try again. You know. So we'll see what happens with that.
Well,
But
they're
yeah,
doing The Man from Uncle,
yes,
another spy series. The Man from Uncle. It's going to be
yeah.
coming out.
Revitalizing Lost in Space also, and Space 1999. Um, so that's going to be happening, and I heard that they may be rebooting Quantum Leap. There's like talks and stuff. So not
Television.
sure. Not sure yet. It's like talking stages. They don't know what they want to do. You know. Um, they tried that so many times with Knight Rider. They tried to bring it back. I think it was like twice. It was Knight Rider 3000 or something, and then it went backwards, and they did what was it, three times that they should have been back? I don't remember. But yeah, that happens a lot. But stay tuned for the Bombcast. That is going to be awesome, and I think we're going to review right the first one. Are we going to know? You
Yeah,
want to do it that way and then go in order, or
I think we should start with the expectations and hopes for Spectre first.
okay?
I think I don't know personally, you know.
Right. Well, I mean, if we review, let's see, it's coming out in November, right? So I mean, if we reviewed, all right, you know what? I'm not going to do this like I did last time with the classic Who. I'm not even going to say a timetable on it. Let's just see what happens with the Bombcast and see if what we can review, whatever. It doesn't have to necessarily be reviews. It could be talk of the news and Spectre and the other one that was the second part of that.
Well, it can be discussions about like villains and favorite shit like
Right.
that.
Now, what happened today? Today, was it the people that made the Power Ranger? Did a Bond one?
That's my understanding. I didn't see it. I know that it got taken down within a few hours.
Oh, yeah. I actually was about to see it when, like, that thing was pulled faster than it was ridiculous how fast they got that thing down. Let me see if I can screen share something from it. I don't even know. I don't even have it anymore, I don't think. Or nothing on it. Let's see. I hate when they go quiet with stuff like that.
Mike, did you see the Sam Mendes video blog?
I saw. When was that released?
That was like last week. It's not the one. The first look when they're on the mountains. It's another one.
I saw the first link you sent me where they kind of like had Mendez and they had like Craig at the very end of it. It was only like maybe a minute and 30 seconds or something like that.
I think that was the one on the mountains. There's another one, but it's got other scenes from Spectre in, which is actually pretty interesting. I find it.
Yeah, Connor and I read the synopsis from the leaked Sony emails, and it's got like a full overview from beginning to end for the Spectre film, and it looks to be really, really good.
Yeah, and it's like even Sam Mendes himself said that it's continuing themes on from Skyfall, such as going into Bond's childhood. Which
Yeah.
which kind of might give a hint away as to a major part of the film. But you know, I think that personally, from what I've read there, the idea of who Andrew Scott's character is and what his purpose is and what's going on around MI6 at that time is pretty good, because I know that, you know, I'm trying to stay away from spoilers in case anyone's watching, but you know, the concept of Spectre trying to hack into MI6 and watch them every step of the way with that Nine Eyes project, pretty much installing cameras in every part of MI6 to pretty much infiltrate them. I think that's a good idea because that's never been done before. And then obviously the ending where you have the big battle outside of Whitehall with the helicopter and everything. Yeah.
That sounds like they thought it out and planned it out well for the end of the film for a continuation of a particular character in that.
Yeah.
The villain.
The villain.
So this is the in the service of nothing bootleg of this James Bond take for a fan film. Adi Shankar, the creator of the Power Ranger bootleg one, I put this out. It said James Bond in his old age. So I don't know if anybody's got it. I'll try to see if I can find it.
I need to watch that because it looks good. If it's got some Bond love scenes in, if that Power Rangers thing is everything to go by, then yeah.
Oh my God! Did you see the Power Ranger thing?
I did, yeah. I saw how violent.
Oh my God! How amazing that was.
It was a bit violent, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. So you know what? I'll see. I'm sure there's a way I can get that in the service of nothing. I'll try to watch it and do a review on it. So, other than that, again with the Alien thing, Alien 3 and 4 happened. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. Like, why can't he just erase those movies from happening? And now what are we going to be faced with? Clones or something? Like, I don't really understand why they got to let that crap exist. What do you say, Mike D?
Well, I mean,
they're saying that Alien 3 and 4, they're not going to erase it.
Well, I was going to say, in what context are they claiming that it's still going to be part of the whole franchise? Because it could just be like Ripley in stasis, like having
having a dream or something. I mean,
dream stuff.
Could be. I mean, maybe that's how they'll say it. I don't know. And also, Hugh Jackman says that he's open to a Deadpool cameo, and he still believes, as I do, that Marvel and 20th Century Fox will come to an agreement where his probably final appearance as Wolverine will be Avengers versus X-Men. You know, I do believe that somehow we will see that. I think when all these Marvel phases are done and they're trying to figure out how they're going to continue with Marvel movies, I think deals are going to be made. And I think that we're going to see Avengers versus X-Men. You know.
I enjoyed yesterday's Everything show where you were talking about Andrew Garfield being gay.
He's not gay. He just has a sense of humor that nobody understands.
I can see where Daniel came from now, because he does look a bit gay. But I appreciate that he's not gay.
Yeah, he's not gay, but he's going out with Emma Stone, by the way. And he just mentioned that, joking around, Mary Jane should be a dude, and Peter Parker could be bisexual, and immediately pissed off everybody from Stan Lee to everybody. So, well, we got an echo again.
I was going to say, I mean, there would be a problem if Spider-Man was gay anyways. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a gay superhero.
Although,
I mean, Spider-Man would seem to be...
There is something wrong with it if the creator knows that his creation is not gay. And basically, Stan Lee said, against anything like that, but Peter Parker is definitely 1,000,000% not gay. So, and that's the way he was created, and that's the way it's always going to be, and it's never, ever, ever going to change because the creator said so. So, you know,
Well,
that's
they,
that.
but the guy that created North Star, the character in Alpha Flight, probably created him without thinking that the character was going to turn out to be gay, and Marvel made that character gay.
Well, this is different, though. Stan Lee has stake with Marvel, so.
Well, I meant, it's the same principle, though.
Yeah. I'm sure.
I mean, would you have an issue with the character being gay other than Stan
Peter
Lee?
Parker? Absolutely. Absolutely, because he's not gay.
No, but I'm saying, like, to change him into a gay character.
Can't
It's not a
change
criticism, I'm just asking.
No, you can't change him because I've read thousands of comics with Spider-Man, and he's not gay. So,
Well, he also wasn't, from what I understand, didn't you say they turned him into, like, a younger Latino?
No. In an alternate reality, Peter Parker died, and Miles Morales took over as Spider-Man. But no.
Well, what if they made, like, a Spider-Man who wasn't Peter Parker and just had him be a gay character?
That's different. That's different. But again, you want to do that, that's fine. But Peter Parker's not gay.
What if he just decided he was coming out of the closet and he wasn't quite sure for so many years?
There's no way in hell, honestly. Stan Lee made a big think about it. And he says, I created Peter Parker. I created Spider-Man. I would know if he's not gay. And it's nothing against... It doesn't have to be gay. He's married to Mary Jane, even though that was erased. It couldn't be further from the truth. In every comic, he's either with the Black Cat, or Betty Bryant, or Liz Allen, he's had tons and tons of dates with women, and there was never any hint in any way that he was gay, in any way. So it would have to be a whole new character.
Well, there are people who are gay that have been married before and had relationships with women. And
not Spider-Man. Peter Parker is not gay.
Spider-Man's not real.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, though. So, all right. On to other subjects.
I don't know. He likes wearing those tights, and seems to be a bit of flamboyant.
He probably locks himself in his room and dances to Rihanna or something.
I don't know. Let's see. What other stories we have? Anything else, Connor?
Nah, I ain't checked, to be honest. Whatever you've got. Yeah.
That's pretty much spent. That's it on that. We'll do real Hoopins.
There's not much to talk about, but yeah.
We'll do real Hoopins. All right. On that note, stay tuned for the Bombcast. Take care, my friend.